Well, hello, lovely. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so happy to be here. How are you?
I'm also wonderful, thank you. And welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa Wellness Wednesday. And of course, we have our beautiful Brice with us again on talking further about the emerald tablets. Is today the last of the sections?
I don't think so. It's like telling
Yeah.
I was telling Shanti before we started filming, the third tablet, the one that we're in, this is like thoughts. He's imparting his wisdom to us on how to basically be good people. And so this is going to take a while. It's going to take a while. It's like the longest.
Humans, calm down, sit the F down, and let's just listen. Okay?
I mean, I was going through it because I'm going to be using, again, for the third tablet, guys, I'm going to be sticking to Rebecca Marina Messenger's channeling because she has the wife, she shats channeling too. And I really like what she has to say. But all the other tablets we're using Doriel, which is he's kind of the main guy, this guy. But I'm going to be using Rebecca's here. And I know we had some questions on Monday. So yes, this is like part 4 of the never-ending saga of the third tablet. So we're not starting back at the beginning again. Lord help us. We're starting on I think it's verse 20, it's verse 16. We're starting today of the third tablet. So and I don't know. This might take us a while. Like it might bring us right into the new year going through this third tablet because
Well, as you said, it's all about teaching us humans how to be decent people. So it might take a while. We're patient.
And sometimes I literally, what was that joke? I think it was from The Office where he was like, explain this to me like I'm 5. Like, I feel like Thoth's trying to explain it to us like we're 5-year-old children. He's like, listen, y'all, don't gossip. Don't like, just it's like.
Exactly. Wonderful. Hello to all our beautiful viewers. Danny Gold, Dragonfly, Suzanne, Linda. So good to see you all here again. Thank you for joining us. So, over to our blonde bombshell from Atlanta, who has some titillating information for us today on how to be a good human.
How to be a good human. We should rename Thoth. I think you should rename the third tablet. Instead of being the keys of wisdom, it should be titled How Not to Be an Asshole. Like that should be like
Yeah, exactly.
I was telling Shanti the verse 16 is very interesting, and this commentary is going to get very interesting. It's going to hit on some stuff that we actually talk about a lot on this channel. So buckle up. Here we go. You ready?
Buckle up, buttercup. We're in for a bumpy ride. I love it.
Well, they've titled this section for verse 16 of tablet 3. So again, if you're following along with me, whether in this book or Doriel's book, this is verse 16 of the third tablet. So we're not starting at the very beginning. We've already covered that. So this is going to be starting off with the verse that says, knowledge is regarded by the fool as ignorance, and things that are profitable are to him hurtful. He liveth in death. It is therefore his food. There's a lot to unpack there. So let me reread that verse again from the original translation, which says, knowledge is regarded by the fool as ignorance, and things that are profitable are to him hurtful. He liveth in death. It is therefore his food. And so the modern commentary says, a fool thinks he or she knows the truth, even when their own life is in disarray. It is as if he or she is so blinded by their own ego that they refuse to accept any other point of view. The fool suspects that things that could help are harmful. She does not listen and rarely seeks counsel of the heart. She lives a lie. That lie is their substance, and it eats them alive. All right, so then Shat contributes her wisdom, and this is where I'm like, oh, girl knows what she's talking about. She says, I plead for you to enter a state of mercy when approaching someone who has this foolish type of personality. Very often, When one is so turned away from knowledge, it is from a sense of insecurity. They become so ensconced in defending their point of view that they bring harm to themselves all through ignorance. Now, this is a big one. Many who have stubborn resistance to truth were influenced by false teachings in their childhood. Those holding this personality type often hang their beliefs on doctrine and believe fiercely that they have been taught well. When conversing with one who bristles up, she puts in quotes, as you present a different point of view, be weary. It is not your job to convince anyone of anything that they do not wish to see. Again, let us go back to the teachings about having a gentle heart. Plant a seed if your discernment tells you to do so, yet engage not in arguing. Doing that will only drain your priceless life force energy. There are plenty of people who desire to know the truth. Your prayer is this, divine, and they call God divine, which I think is beautiful. Divine, please guide me only to those that I am meant to help. Remember this, you are like a key that opens a lock, but only to those who are ready for your guidance. And so we see this so much. You know, I get very frustrated because it's so funny. This morning as I was getting ready, I was listening to Leah Remini, another interview she was doing over the Scientology stuff. And I was listening to everything she was talking about with Scientology, and she was talking about, but other religions, people don't get threatened in other religion. I was like, girl, I've got more death threats from Christians than anybody. I'm going to make a coffee table book of all those emails one day. And so, anytime that's my frustration is I will present actual research into the Bible, actual documented evidence that the Bible is counterfeit and that the real gospels are actually the hidden gospels. But yet I'm sent death threats instead of people just taking the time to look at the information. And the real story of Yeshua is far more beautiful than the story they present in these cabal churches. And it makes me frustrated. And we've talked about this, Shanti, because a lot of people in this community that we're in know that the medical world is corrupt, know that the schools are corrupt, know that government is corrupt, know that food is corrupt. But for some reason, the church isn't.
Exactly. Exactly. But we know the church is the infiltrator.
Yes.
I mean,
church, if you even break down the word church, what is church? Why do they call it a church and not a temple? I know why. It's because church comes from the Scottish word kirk, which comes from the Greek goddess Circe. She was the goddess of hypnotizing. She hypnotized people so that she could feed off of them.
Wow.
So if
That's amazing. I actually didn't know that. Didn't know that.
That was one of the first things I learned years ago when I started deep diving into I'd watched a Jordan Maxwell lecture back in, God works, the divine works in a very mysterious way. And I was in India, and it was back in 2016 when a bunch of stuff started happening in 2016, right? And I was taking an oil bath. So I had oil literally all over my body, castor oil. I was butt ass naked, oil all over me. And I put my laptop up to watch something while I was taking this oil bath, as I typically do. And I put a Jordan Maxwell lecture on. And I was so covered in oil that I couldn't stop. And it was so groundbreaking, the things that he was saying in this lecture. It took me a year to process everything he had said. And it was a lecture really about the church and about what the church really was. And the reason why priests and preachers wear black robes, same as judges. They're both playing for the bank. They're both ruling for the bank. They're both ruling for the Rothschilds, right? And so that was, and then I ended up delving more into what baptism means. Well, what baptism basically means when you're baptized in a church is you're offering your child as sacrifice. You're anointing your child as sacrifice. You dress them in white and you anoint them. To anoint a person is to mark them for sacrifice. Well, we know most children who are baptized don't experience actual sacrifice, but they're being fed off of. And they're going to get into that you are a food source. In one of the upcoming verses, she's going to talk about, Shishat especially is going to talk about how you are a food source. And so when I found that out, I sat here and I said, I got baptized 2 months after I was born in the Presbyterian Church. And I just said out loud, I revoke that. And I'm sure if my parents knew exactly what was being done in this service, they would have never done that to my sister or me, because that's evil. I am not yours to feed off of. And so all the information is out there. And so people like me get attacked for presenting knowledge. We're considered bad by people who are been raised or indoctrinated into a false doctrine. We look at that too. I mean, look at I keep laughing about, we think that religion is going to have a hard time when the truth comes out. Think about all the scholars. Think about the people who have PhDs in history, and then they learn about Tartaria.
Everything will be turned upside down, that's for sure. We're in for some major shifts. But, and that's why we say it's not just obviously the politicians or the 1% that is holding everything together from the top there. They've got, they've done sufficient mind control and brainwashing over the years to have their little foot soldiers, in the form of these highly educated people who pretty much become, their assets. Not in spy way, but in everyday life.
They'll fight for them when they don't even know what it is they're actually fighting for. It's the same again with the church. I mean, church literally means mind control. You are literally we laugh about how schools are indoctrination centers. Well, so are churches. That's what church means. They're telling you that's what church means. If you bothered to look it up, and I remember as a kid actually thinking that, like, we would study about like Jewish heritage and they went to temples and synagogues. And I'm like, well, why do we call it a church? Well, now we know that Yahshua, the real Yahshua and the real Magdalene were not actually Jewish, which it doesn't actually matter. I mean, it doesn't matter what they were, but we know that they weren't. They were Egyptian. That's where Essene comes from. It comes from the spelling of Isis. Essee is Isis. They were the Essenes. They had Jewish students, because I don't think Yahshua or Magdalene give a shit where you come from. That's their love is for you as a person. But even that in itself is, people have a really, Jesus wasn't his name. I tell people to start there. Ask why did they change his name? It was Yeshua. Why did they change his name? Do you know what Jesus means? Because I do. I know what Jesus means. It's not good.
Yeah.
So maybe, and push the point further, the J didn't even exist back then, and so these are, but people can't. And I think too, it is because she says it's because of insecurity. And I remember somebody said that to me once. There's a church here in the United States it's called the Westboro Baptist Church. And they are for sure, they are 100% a cult, to the point where they will go. I mean, they're awful. I'm not even going to get into what they do. You guys can look them up, Westboro Baptist Church. And somebody said once to me a long time ago, because they come here to Atlanta a lot to protest, and they hold up horrible signs. And someone said to me once, to be that vicious about your beliefs obviously means that you don't really believe what you believe, because you're insecure. You're insecure with what you believe. If you really believe what you believed, you wouldn't feel the need to be that vicious. And so it's interesting. She talks about that. I mean, think about that in medicine too. How many people just trusted and got zapped without actually going, wait a minute, I'm just going to look this up.
Let me give myself 3 months before I do that and just do some research, or even 3 weeks.
Even 3 days, So we see it in every walk of life, and I do believe that science, mainstream science, is in itself a religion, because in my opinion, like, real science is always in a state of questioning. Real science is always at a place where you have a theory, and now you're going to question your own theory. But we see a lot now where they're not even questioning anything. So is that really science? It's its own religion at this point. So we go to verse 17 from tablet 3. A wise man let his heart overflow, but keeps silent his mouth. Thoth's commentary in modern English: when your heart is overflowing with love, No speaking is needed. Your heart always speaks louder than words. And my mama used to tell us that all the time. Actions speak louder than words. What you do speaks volumes compared to what you say.
Same as
You
the
know?
word, you shall know them by their fruit, right?
Exactly. You shall know them by their fruit. You shall know them by their fruit. And so Thoth says, when your heart is overflowing with love, no speaking is needed. Your heart always speaks louder than words. Shishat contributes her wisdom. This is truly short admonition, yet the wise would do well to heed this truth. You can do so much good by sitting in silence while sending out the vibrations of pure love from your heart. Try this the next time you desire to let someone know that they are loved. Sit and think of them. Holding them in your heart, imagine actual waves of love going out to them. This is especially useful if you have a disagreement with someone and desire to make peace. Sometimes you may not feel love for a person, and yet you still desire peace. In that case, be still and send thoughts of peace and ask the presence of divine love to surround them. I do that all the time, though. I feel like in this community, we kind of already knew that.
Yeah, totally.
And that because our souls are not confined just to our body. Our souls kind of come outside of our body too. So this leads us to verse 18. Be free from the bonds of darkness. O men, this is the original translation. O men, listen to the voice of wisdom. Listen to the voice of light. Mysteries there are in the cosmos that fill the world with their light. Let he who would be free from the bonds of darkness first divine the material world from the immaterial, the fire from the earth. For know ye that as earth descends to earth, also fire ascends unto fire and becomes one with fire. He who knows the fire that is within himself shall ascend unto the eternal fire and dwell in it eternally. Thoth's commentary in modern English. The voice of wisdom is the voice of light. It is in paying attention to your inner guidance that the great mysteries of the cosmos are revealed. And we know that through yoga. I mean, that's told this story before with Krishna, who is the avatar from the Bhagavad Gita. When he was a little boy, he was Govinda. And his mother saw him eating dirt, just like kids do. And she went and opened his mouth to get the dirt out, and she saw the whole universe inside of him. That's what I love about these Hindu stories is they're multi-meaning. You have the whole universe inside of you.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Patanjali says this in the Yoga Sutras. Everything you need to know is within you. It's within you. Studying outside material is just triggering something that you already intuitively know. If everybody taught that, there would be no more controllers, no more cults, if we all understood that. Yeah?
Yeah.
If you desire to be free from the bonds of darkness, release all fears of being overtaken from the darkness. So if you desire to be free of the darkness, then you have to release the fears of the darkness overtaking you. And you speak of this, Shanti, about being able to rise your vibration up above it.
Yeah.
You have to release it first, right? You have to release it. First, realize that there is a difference between the material world and the spiritual world. The fire within your soul is related to the fire within the earth. Your body will turn to the earth dust one day, but this fire in your soul will live on. When you know that the fire is within your soul is eternal, you do not fear death. Your soul is eternally one with the fire. That is in the Yoga Sutras too, where Patanjali's like, yo, this is why, basically Patanjali's like, y'all, you're the reason why your life sucks, because you think that the Shakti, the expression of your soul, is actually your soul when it's just the expression of your soul, and and it will perish one day, but you're confused because you think that's you, but it's not eternal, so it's not really you. But if you tap into what is eternal, then you won't fear death. And if we don't fear death, they say that every fear can actually go back to the fear of death. And if we release that, and we know that there really is no death, then we're unstoppable.
Exactly.
We're unstoppable. And so Shishat says, while the material world is needed for man's existence on the earth plane, it is his inner fire that lives on forever. So the material world is absolutely needed. You can't have the Shiva without the Shakti. The two are constantly in the tango together. The soul, the Prakriti, the Purusha, they're constantly in motion together. There must be a balance of the material world and the internal fire to bring about the unveiling of even more mysteries. Man has long sought after the unknown. It's the unquenchable fire within us that keeps us ever evolving. All right. She says there is no stagnation in the human field or in the spiritual field. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly moving and changing. And think of that, a rolling stone gathers no moss. So it's beautiful that we're constantly changing. Verse 19, fire, the inner fire, is the most potent force of all. For it overcometh all things and penetrates to all of the earth. Man supports himself only on that which resists. So earth must resist man, else he existeth not. So now we're going to get into one of my favorite topics. That is friction. I've spoken about friction many times. And that is one thing that was so liberating for me, because growing up in a Presbyterian church, we're kind of taught that when things go awry in our life, it's our fault and we're being punished by God. That is not true at all. It's your karma. Yeah. And that's how you learn. You don't, that match can't light itself without that strike. And that's the resistance they're talking about. That's the friction. So in modern English, Thoth says the fire of the soul is needed, the most potent force in all of the universe, for it is capable of overcoming all obstacles. Let me read that again for those in the back who missed that. The fire of the soul is indeed the most potent force in all of the universe. So your soul, you watching right now, your soul is the most potent force in all of the universe, for it is capable of overcoming all obstacles, not some obstacles, all obstacles. There is no part of the earth that this human fire cannot penetrate. There must be resistance, or opposite to what is desired, to bring about appreciation. Light would not be appreciated if there was no dark. Good would not even be recognized if there was no evil. All forces contribute towards man's evolution. Shishat contributes, that's polarity, right? That's the polarity. Shishat contributes her wisdom. The inner fire is akin to the magnetism that has generated the heart. Humanity's consciousness is a bridge between the seen and the unseen. So your consciousness, your soul, that magic, that's the bridge between this material world that we can see and the immaterial world. Oh, did I lose Shanti? That we can't see. I think I'm still live, guys. Let me know. I see Morné in the chat. Am I by myself now? I know Shanti was having some internet problems, so I guess I'll just keep going. Yeah? Okay. All right. It is the joining of these two elements that make it possible to transform all things. Resistance is but a stepping stone to a higher evolution. So you hear that, guys. Resistance is, thank you, Anna. I was concerned that I was talking to myself for a minute there. So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Morné. Like, am I just talking to myself right now? All right. So resistance is a stepping stone to a higher evolution. So guys, that friction that we talked about in the 30-day challenge, those obstacles that you face, that striking of that match, be it uncomfortable as it is in the moment, that's your stepping stone to higher evolution. When one obstacle is dissolved, another one takes its place. Overcoming and transforming is the path of greatest evolution. This earth plane is destined to always be on the cutting edge of evolutionary growth. So we are on the cutting edge of evolutionary growth. Our species other species gather around to watch humanity as it struggles to move forward. And we've seen this from all sorts of different channelings, that there is constantly other species watching and cheering us on, because what we are doing on this earth is always cutting edge. It's always monumental. We know that our guides, our angels, whatever you want to call them, are so proud of us because we are doing the hard work down here on Earth. You have great cheerleading section of benevolent beings, a great cheerleading section of benevolent beings, but they have a warning here. Be aware that there are also nefarious beings who wish to do you harm. And we know that. We know there are nefarious beings that wish to do us harm that are watching as well. But again, we're on the planet of polarity, and we need that polarity, right? I know we've talked about that with Shanti before. There is a very miraculous design that's happening here on this planet where what the devil will make for bad, God will use for good. There she is.
I had a baby guinea fowl come into my kitchen. My baby guinea fowl disappeared yesterday and she just came back now. So I had to quickly go and see her.
Oh, well, that's worth it. I love it when you get like guinea fowls and doves coming in. I think it's just like a God wink. I put a t-shirt in my Amazon basket. I know, guys, I know Amazon's bad, but right now, we're doing what we got to do. That said Thoth's Apprentice. I'm going to get us as Thoth's Apprentice.
I love it.
So I think we always get these God winks when we're doing this. So it goes on to say, remember that light always prevails. So light always prevails, guys. Therefore, my beloved Thoth has always admonition humanity to seek the light. We saw that, to look ever towards the light. So this brings us to verse 20, which is titled Different Strokes for Different Folks. All eyes do not see with the same vision. For to one, an object appears of one form and color and appears different to the eye of another. So also the infinite fire, changing from color to color, it is never the same from day to day. Thoth's commentary in modern English. 100 people can witness the same event, yet there will be a different perception by each person. And that's something that's big in the yoga world, right, Shanti? Like we're always talking about in our practice, trying to have a different perspective. Like that's spoken about a lot, like seeing things in a different way. That's a big teaching tool with teaching inversions. When you're upside down, seeing the world from a different perspective. And they're saying that here. This is because each person has their own filter system based on past and current circumstances of their life. Absolutely. The fire in the soul is constantly changing as well. It moves in rapport with the communication of the heart's desire within. An earthly flame flickers, waning and then growing again. So too, this inner fire illuminates with many different colors according to the soul's purpose. No two soul flames are ever alike at the same time and should not be compared to one another. So we talked about this Monday about the spiritual ego that we see a lot, unfortunately, in the spiritual world. And so you have to always respect people, and you don't know what their soul's path is. It's frankly none of your business, right? It's your soul's path that you need to be. But I also often find that when people get really involved in trying to figure out somebody else's soul path, it's just a escapism for not having to look at their own stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Projection.
Yeah.
Right?
You're going to meddle with somebody else's life, so you don't have to deal with the shit show that's your own life, right?
Exactly.
And I will say, like, when you find yourself doing that, if you find yourself like super fascinated and wanting to poke your nose into somebody else's business, maybe ask yourself, am I trying to avoid something in my own path that's hard? And I'm not saying that, if you have a really good friend or family member that's going through something, I'm not saying don't lend a hand out to help them, but understand. And that's something I think we've talked about this, Shanti, like as yoga teachers, we have to respect that we do our best to teach the philosophy to the students and help them not make mistakes. But at some point, you also have to back away and let their karma unfold. You can't interrupt somebody's karma. You can't do that.
Absolutely.
So that's it. Yeah. And karma's not it's not a bad thing. It's just your work. That's all it is. It's your work,
Exactly.
Shat contributes her wisdom. Every individual is on their own path. Bless you.
Gosh.
Bless you.
Bless me.
Was that 3?
Gosh. 4.
4? Oh, you got an extra one for good luck.
Oh, yes.
She says each person has their own purpose according to agreements made before incarnation. So that's super important, guys. Nothing here is happening just for shits and giggles. There was always an agreement made before we took this incarnation. You might be the friction in somebody else's life, the karmic in somebody else's life, because you made that agreement with that person to provide them with that resistance. So you have to understand that this is all preordained. Some people spend lifetime after lifetime pursuing the same goal. We respect the soul fire of each of you and the purpose for which you came. So every human being, whether we think they're good or bad, whether we think they're idiots or not idiots, they have a purpose for which they came to earth for, and we have to respect that even if we don't like it, right? It is not profitable to compare your soul's journey to that of another. Let me read that again. It is not profitable to compare your soul's journey to that of another. We all see a different vision. Let's all honor the vision of others. Please cease to compare yourself with others. Your path is the only path that is best for you. Your journey is the only one that you are responsible for. Your journey is the only journey you are responsible for. I'm not a parent.
Stay in your lane. Don't interfere in other people's lives. Focus on your own shit. When things go wrong in your life, ask yourself what inside of you is getting in your own way.
Yes.
That's pretty much what it is, right?
Well, let's look at that with parents, because I know that parents have a hard time with this, right? And I'm not a parent. When is it time? I was reading in the Magdalene manuscript where at the end where their friend was dying, and on the deathbed, the friend told the author, "You got to let your girls go. Like you got to let them live." Like before she was about to die, that was her parting words to her friend. Like you as a mother have done your job. You have to let them go and live and make their own mistakes. And I see that a lot. I know Stephanie has mentioned that a lot since she started studying this philosophy, that it kind of took some weight off her shoulders with her son as well, because he has his soul's journey too. Every soul has their own journey.
Khalil Gibran is a really beautiful author. I think he lived in the 16th century, something like that. But he wrote a book called The Prophet. And in there's little short chapters on different things that people have asked him. And one is called, he speaks on children. And, it is so beautiful. He says, your children do not belong to you. They are life's longing for itself. They belong to the future. And we can never go to the past. So instead of you telling your children what to do, we should learn from them. Observe your children. What are they teaching us? It's so beautiful. With a lot of these like YouTube reels and stuff, you see some pretty smart kids out there. I'll tell you something. And I watched this little reel where this little girl is speaking to her father, and she must be maybe 5 or 6. And she says to him, "I'm here to teach you to be a better daddy. And I don't like it when you are so nasty to my older sister. You shouldn't shout at her like that. You can always speak to her nicely." And I mean, he actually acknowledges. He says, "Yes, you do teach me to be a better father. You're right about that." So it's amazing, when we allow ourselves to be humble and realize that the little ones in the world actually are closest to God. They are the ones that bring the most impactful messages to us. If only we can step back and allow that, because really, with the way that the planet and the consciousness is shifting now, it's up to us as the parents, as the planet, if you will, to allow the children coming in to do their job by getting out of their way. We guide them. We support them. We show them the things we need to show them, but we allow their spirits to develop. We're not allowing, as a parent, to groom your child. I'm certainly not talking about in the Luciferian way, please. I'm talking about allowing your child to be the person that he or she is destined to be. You don't control them, you guide them. You give them options. What do they choose? Of course, you're going to expect them to F up every now and again. Allow them to be. They're going to find their way. If you give them that much space and allow them to move around within that space, don't keep them there. Give them space to make choices, give them space to think about things for themselves, even if you know it might be a fad or whatever the case might be, you know. So it's that whole thing about we have become so arrogant, really, as seniors of the planet. And we talk about our cocky teenagers. And of course, our teenagers are cocky because really they are younger versions of ourselves that we probably were ignoring for so long. And we, you know, because we've already got our encapsulated ideas about life and how things should be going. And you listen to me. It's not that way. It's got to be a two-way conversation.
Yeah.
And this is how we're going to get the bridges between the kids, the tweens, the teens, the adults, the parents, the grandparents. You know what I'm saying? It's like this whole, and not just in that lineage, but also globally, you know, all over the planet. And that's what we really need to do. Learn from our children and take what they say and apply it to our lives, honestly.
You know, it's so funny you're saying that, and I absolutely agree with you. And I'm thinking back to what we were talking about with the religious indoctrination, and we see in the Old Testament where Solomon, you know, teaches like spare the rod, spoil the child, where, you know, beating your kids into submission, all that kind of stuff. And, you know, as you're saying that, that's such a, I think a lot of us were raised in that kind of mentality. I know I was spanked. I wasn't spanked that much, but I was spanked, you know, and it's so funny you're saying that because I've done a deep dive into Solomon too. I've read the Testament of Solomon. I've read his spell books, his grimoires. He worshipped Moloch. He says that in the Testament of Solomon, that he is a worshiper of Moloch. And so when we see where the root of this information is that we have clung to all these years, we go, probably wasn't the best thing to listen to this dude's advice. That's why David gave him the kingdom, because it actually says this in the canonized Bible, that out of all Solomon's brothers, he was the only one that continued with the ritual of sacrifice. So all of his brothers, all of David's other sons were like, yeah, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not doing that. We're not down for this anymore. But Solomon kept doing the sacrifice. Wasn't fasting for a few days. It was blood, and saying that he's worshiping Moloch. Well, what is that? What is Moloch known for? That's Yahweh. What the blood ritual from pure beings. And so that is true, because I think a lot of us, you know, when we look at I mean, I know for me, for my generation, I mean, we were expected. I had to go to university. Like, we were expected to do these things, and now we're looking at. I was talking to a friend the other day whose child doesn't want to go to university, and I'm like, good. What's she going to do? Spend a bunch of money and then come out with a piece of paper that's worth shit because they teach us all fake stuff anyway? Like, let her go learn a vocation. Let her figure out what her path is, because that's why she's here, is for a particular path. And that's not the path that our parents maybe would pick for us. But, you know, I know if I was on the path my parents wanted for me, I wouldn't be sitting here on YouTube right now reading the Emerald Tablets.
You'd be a lawyer. What would you be doing?
I would be the wife of a lawyer. I wouldn't have tattoos. I would not have a nose piercing.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that you're not that. I'm so happy you've got your tats and your nose piercing. You're a crazy Marion.
I do have to say, I said this on my channel this morning. Today, December 14th, is my late grandmother's birthday. She passed away a little over a year ago. And that woman, my dad's mom, she is my muse. She was the reason why I was able to do because she grew up in South Georgia on a dairy farm. And she played the piano at church every Sunday, but she hid books on reincarnation under the bed from my grandfather. She went to university when women didn't go to university. She graduated valedictorian. When I was 8 years old, she tried to teach me how to meditate, and nobody knew how to meditate in Georgia back then, you know. And so I do have to today's her birthday, so I do have to give kudos to my late grandmother, because without her, she was my cheerleader in my life. She was the one adult authority figure in my life that was like, I think it's great she wants to go to India. She was the one that was like, you should do that. When everybody else was like, why are you doing this?
That's amazing.
I'm so grateful for her.
Happy birthday, Grandma. Happy birthday.
I know she's around. I know she's hanging around. So happy birthday to my grandmother. I know she's hanging around, but yeah, she's my muse.
Right.
I don't think grandparents have favorites, but I do know for a fact that all of her grandchildren, I was the one she told her secrets to. So I think she felt
Well,
that like.
I only have one granddaughter, and she's definitely my favorite. So what can I say?
every time I would come back from India, my grandfather, when he was alive, he would like frisk me because he thought I was going to be attacked by some like group of terrorists, which I'm like, it's a small town in India, but she would like pull me to the corner and she'd be like, teach me everything you learned, teach me everything you learned.
That's so cool, right?
So cool she was. So I appreciate her. I know in her day and age, she would have never have been able to go to India from the family, very upper class family she came from. She would have never been able to do that. So I appreciate her karmically allowing me, her granddaughter, to do that, to make me feel secure enough in a very Southern family to go out and have this life, you know? And so I love you, Grandmama. I know you're in a better place now, but
congrats for breaking that cycle, for actually stepping out of the mold. That's great.
Yeah,
Change the pathway.
I just think it's so cool that she would play piano at church on Sunday because she had to, but she hid her books on reincarnation under the bed for my granddad. And she taught me about reincarnation. I was a young child. So this brings us to verse 21, which is man's fire can never be quenched. Thus speak I thought of my wisdom. Well, I will say before we go on, Shanti, my grandma would have loved you and she would have loved Morné and she would have been watching this channel. If she had known how to work YouTube, she would have been watching this channel all day, every day.
She's watching, honey. She's watching. She's watching.
She didn't know how to send a text message, but she would be watching this, I'm sure. So she goes, Thus speak I thought of my wisdom, for man is a fire burning bright through the night, never is quenched by the veil of darkness, never is quenched by the veil of the night. So in modern English, as I have observed through many lifetimes, man is indeed like a blazing fire that burns brightly, no matter how strong the darkness. You guys, let me read that again, because how apropos is that for the time that we live today? We look and see this group of nefarious controllers, these Lucy's, as I feel like sometimes, I know I very rarely, but I'll kind of feel this heavy heart, like, oh my God, this battle is too big for us. It's just, they're too psychotic. It's just too much. It's too ingrained. But let me read that again. As I have observed through many lifetimes, man is indeed a blazing fire that burns brightly, no matter how strong the darkness is. Thoth is telling you, you are so much stronger than those silly old Lucy's. They only wish they do all this mind control because they're terrified of us. They're so scared that we're going to figure out who we really are, that they have set up this elaborate matrix to convince us that we're not who we are.
Yeah.
That's how powerful we are. And he says that here, the fire of a soul can never be quenched, for that fire is eternal. So no matter what they do, that fire within us is never going to be burnt out. Shishat contributes her wisdom. That Thoth speaks to let humanity know that the fire in the soul can never be extinguished. No matter what the veils disguise, the dark evil, the light will always prevail. And they put that in freaking bold. The light will always prevail.
Yeah.
The earth, always. They say the earth will not see destruction as long as man holds to the light and believes that no darkness is more powerful than the light of the soul. You have to know that no darkness, nothing they do to us. And look, I mean, we're preaching to the choir right now. Listen, all you guys, all y'all, as we say down here in the South, all y'all, you have stood up against all odds all across the world. I mean, I feel like I have it the easiest because I'm here in a red state where whatever, we didn't even really have, these or none of these mandated. So it's easy for me here, and I work from home on YouTube now, so it's not like I have a place to go to. So I feel like I have it pretty easy. But there are people all over the world in our little group of community of like-minded people who have literally stood up and said no, with the risk of losing their jobs, their income, of being sanctioned. Like, that shows you how bright your soul is. So I applaud you for whoever is watching right now who just said no more, who took this off when they walked into the grocery store and kept their head held high. I applaud you, because the light will always prevail. So I applaud you guys. That takes a lot of courage. Freedom from the bondage of strife, verse 22. Into men's heart I looked by my wisdom, found them not free from the bondage of strife, free from the toils thy fire, O my brother, lest it be burned in the shadow of night. Thoth's commentary in modern English. I have looked into the hearts of men and sadly have seen that they still hold on to the mindset of bondage and enslavement. It is recognition of the power of the fire burning within that will cause a permanent change in this belief. So if you get, and I see Kanga Anon, you said no. Good job. My hats.
Yeah.
And Amanda, I know you went bankrupt and you lost your job, but you still said no. So good job.
Absolutely. I think that was it's been such a test of our own integrity and our own faith on so many levels as well. And please, I don't want to say I know there are many other people who really felt and they had to take it because it's that also.
Of course.
As a breadwinner of the family, you're going to make that sacrifice if that's the only thing that you're going to, only way you're going to feed your children and clothe them and pay your mortgage and stuff like that, So, but yeah, and I also think, with all the stuff going on, the minute we ourselves change energetically, all the side effects of that Lucy juice, dissolves. The Lucy juice is going to dissolve, really.
Yeah, listen, I agree with you, Shanti. Like, I've heard many times, and I agree with this. There are so many people that got zapped that are not pushing it on other people. They did it because they felt like they had to. They're not forcing other people to get it. Those people have the right intention and the right heart, and I absolutely agree with you. That stuff, the thing about the body, and we know this through yoga, it's nature. It's constantly in a state of change. So don't think, if you got it, don't think that it's just done. It's not done. I have a friend here in Atlanta that helps people that got it through hands-on healing. That's all I'll say, to help cure themselves. So there are things that there's so many healers out there that will work with you. And I think, in my opinion, just the mindset that you're like, if you just make up your mind, like, this is not going to affect me, I think you're pretty good, because the fire in your soul, as he's saying, shines so much brighter than the darkness that they tried to put on you. And
absolutely.
I think I said that last week too. Like, I feel on Monday, not last, or whenever I said it, the days kind of run together. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, what day is it? I have a debt of gratitude for those that in this lifetime volunteered to get zapped, so I didn't have to. Because if everybody had said no, we wouldn't have the data. How would we know? We wouldn't have the data. So you think about that. We were all coming down to this earth for this timeline. Those that got zapped agreed to do that. And maybe that meant that they agreed not to wake up until a certain point so that they could do that in service to humanity. And so I do not. The only people that piss me off are the ones that try to push it on other people. But anytime anybody tries to push something on someone else, that drives me crazy. It should be free choice for anything in life. But for those so if you're listening and you got it, like, I humbly thank you, because that means that I didn't have to. And so I thank you for taking one for the team. And I know a lot of people who got the first one and then woke up. They're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. It's not a death sentence. It's not black and white like that. So, and listen, your soul made an agreement when it was going to leave this earth. And if it's not time for your soul to leave this earth, it's not gonna it's not gonna leave. There's nothing. Listen, people have survived crazy shit because it wasn't time yet. So if it's not your time yet,
Yeah.
tough shit. You're gonna be staying here. So don't even worry about it. All right.
Guardian angels are working overtime. Shaman, I'm just reading a message here from Karen Raymond. Lost my dad.
Oh,
Is it
5 times.
Wow.
Wow. Well, Karen,
That's
I don't know, Karen, if you've read The Law of One, that might, I don't know, it might bring you some comfort. I don't know. The Law of One kind of talks about this, and a lot, especially this timeline, a lot of souls came to this earth at this time and they weren't ready to move on to the next timeline, but they came here to be able to experience a very polarizing lifetime in order to gain the knowledge and then move on to the next life. And so, and just know, Karen, our souls never die. So your dad is still with you. He's still there, you know. And Valerie, I see it's your mom's birthday too. Oh, lost her May 20th. Oh, well, happy birthday to your mom, Valerie. Happy birthday.
Heaven is celebrating with all these beautiful souls. And you know, I truly believe, as I say, and Brice, our souls are eternal. And I have no doubt that those souls, I mean, I know when my dad died as well, and it was at the end of 2014. And I want to tell you, my father, wow, he was my hero. And I remember in Thailand, when I was riding on one of the islands, then it was the highest island. I mean, that road is painted red. It's so high, right? That you're not allowed to, if the big trucks are coming from below, from the top, you're not allowed to be riding up. You get stopped. I was riding on that road on a freaking scooter. I was like, Dad! Ah! My father was like supposed to be dead and resting in peace. The most amazing thing was I felt his energy around me, and it was like cocooning, and it was like he was helping me around those. I nearly had an accident. How on earth I'm still alive is amazing. But I like landed in slow motion across the road and in the bushes. on my wheels, and there's this Swedish couple that comes there, and excuse my language, but they stop and the girl says, "How the fuck did you do that?" I said, I had no fucking idea, but I did. So the guy says, "Good for you." He says, "Don't you get scared of that thing." Now, what I'm saying, it's amazing what happens when we believe, okay? And ever since then, I really got to recognize the feeling of my father's spirit. He doesn't come in a human form or knock on my bed or on my door, or sit on my bed and wake me up or whatever. When I need him and when I miss him and when I feel like that fatherly connection, it's like that got me to recognize his spirit around me.
It's like a subtle.
Yes, like a warm, golden, misty blanket. I don't know. That's the only way I can explain it. But we get to feel these things. And as we start becoming more and more familiar with that, that feeling, you start trusting more and more that you're not alone anyway. And I truly believe that these guys, our family, our friends, our loved ones that have left due to this, are actually forming a massive wall of protection for us. And I want to say, one of the spirits I see beyond the veils, one of the spirits here is actually telling me this. All of these that are crossed over, guys, I've got goosebumps. Okay, this is the first time I've done this on this channel. All of the spirits that have left, the loved ones that have left for us, they are kind of forming a wall of protection, a wave of protection for us against the onslaught that has been created to take us out. That's the message.
I believe it, and that got me choked up. And I'll say too, my feeling inclined to my dad's dad. So the man that was married to my grandmother, whose birthday is today, he had a near-death experience in his 40s. This was before I was born. And he had a heart attack. And when they were rushing him into the hospital, he flatlined. And he would tell the story, and he remembers rising up above his body and watching what was going on in the medical room, hearing the conversation between the doctors and the nurse. And he said that all of a sudden this beautiful bright light appeared. And he said, like, you can't even describe it in human terms. It's indescribable. And he walked into it, and he said this man ran down. And he described this man as being Yeshua, which I think whatever person that you are comfortable with, if you're Hindu, it'll probably be Krishna, whatever will greet you. And Yeshua kept telling my granddad, he was in his 40s at this time. My grandmother, the one whose birthday is today, had 3 children. My dad, his 2 younger sisters that were going into school, college and high school. And Ed kept saying to Yeshua, I want to stay here. This is amazing. I don't want to go back. And Yeshua kept saying, it's not your time yet. You have to go back. And my granddad kind of threw my grandmother under the bus. He was like, Marianne's got it. She can handle it. She's fine. And Yasha was like, no, you have to go back. It's not your time yet. And then next thing he knew, he woke up in his hospital bed, and he was retelling this story, and the doctors and nurses kind of brushed him off like, oh, it was just like a hallucination. But then he started talking about the conversation they were having in the hospital room when he flatlined. And it was the conversation they were having. So then they took him seriously. And after that happened to him in his 40s, his whole life turned around. He ended up like investing in these facts. I mean, he just was fearless after that. He became very wise. He was just such a solid person, and he never feared death. He never feared death. In fact, when more people in the family would get sick of cancer or something on their deathbed, he would always sit there and tell them, it's going to be okay. This is actually an exciting time for you. At his own sister's funeral, my great aunt Jane, she died a few years before he did. He was laughing and cutting up at her funeral. He just was tickled pink. He was like, Jane's fine. She's better than we are. She's fine. We need to be jealous, And a few years before he actually passed away, I went up to see my grandparents. We were out to lunch, and he was just sitting there eating, and he was 6'5", a very big man. And he sat there and he goes, I think I've only got like a couple years left. And then he went back to eating again. Like, it was just very matter of fact. It was very matter of fact. And so seeing how he did not fear that at all, like he was kind of looking forward to it. I know he's glad he got to see his grandkids and his great grandkids. I get that. And when my grandmother actually passed away, the one whose birthday is today, she had Alzheimer's. And this is another reason why spirit is so powerful, guys, and not just contained to our physical body. So she had Alzheimer's a couple of years, got really bad a couple of years before she passed away. My grandfather passed away in 2017. She passed away in 2021. And for a few years there, it was brutal because she would forget that Ed had passed away. And so every day it was reliving that nightmare of having to tell her that he was gone. She stopped remembering who her great grandchildren were. Like, she'd hold my niece and be like, now whose baby is this? Like, she would forget that, you saw the mind slipping. Well, the day that she actually passed away, that morning she woke up and she kept telling the nurses at the assisted living home that she was going to see Ed today. She was so excited because she was going to go see Ed today. Get emotional. And that afternoon, she fell asleep and didn't wake up. And come to find out, the day she passed away was her and my grandfather's wedding anniversary.
Wow.
But she knew. He came to her. She knew she was going with him that day. So they're always with us. Always. And I feel them with me. I felt my mom's mom with me my whole life. And I agree with you, Shanti. I think with the amount of paranormal attacks I've had my whole life because I see beyond the veil, I don't think I would be alive if it weren't for my mom's mom, who's been dead since I was 9. And now my other I feel them around me, especially when things get very interesting. We'll say I feel them. Mm-hmm. Like they're there. You can't kill Absolutely. A soul. You can't kill a soul. They're the best armor we have. And so I'm the only people in pain are the ones that miss them when they're not in their physical form, but they're always with you, always.
And, I think what's going to be happening more and more now as we start opening up to, because I had this picture just for a split second of us having this conversation and so many departed spirits. But I want to say, connected to a lot of our people in the chat, are like right here. And it's just so beautiful. And that's the message I was getting, that these spirits, they've like joined hands and going, fuck this. We like gonna hang out together. Come on, we forming this, yeah, we protecting, you know. And that's what I'm feeling. So they have never left. They're just on another dimension now. The whole thing about death is it just, we are changing from one state to the other. You leave your body behind, the spirit is eternal. And if you are open, you know, and I always say, you know, when I connect with someone that has crossed over, I always do so in the light of God. I make very, very sure that this is ordained and given permission for by God, that it's not some dodgy Dora hanging out and sort of stalking around on the sidelines, yeah, waiting to get an opportunity to hop on some light loose, you know.
Yes. Yes.
So that's important as well. But it's, you know, it's just such a beautiful thing knowing. And that's what I learned from Hannes's death. And talking about this, I actually mentioned on my show this morning. Yesterday, the 13th, Friday the 13th was the anniversary. And I know I've often spoken about Hannes, my Austrian partner that was killed in a hijacking. 26 years. It was so crazy because I woke up in the morning. Actually, he was killed on the 12th of December, but I found out on Friday the 13th at 1300 hours, my phone rang, and his friend, and I was still expecting him to say, okay, I found him, you know, like, okay, the guy's been whatever, you know, and he just said to me, he's dead and it looks like a hijacking. And he put the phone down. He couldn't even talk to me. I was like just standing there in shock. Then I had to go and ID the body. And that was not pleasant because he was shot execution style and the bullet came out under his left eye. So that was my last vision of him. I cannot tell you the shock that the imprint that leaves in the body. And yesterday morning, now I'm a healer, right? I've been working with this stuff for many, many years. So I'm in an ongoing process of working with myself, right? So I woke up yesterday morning and I felt really crap. And I couldn't figure out why I was feeling so crap. And you all know the recently with my tooth and discovering that it was actually taken in it and it wasn't just like a random thing. It was actually a hit and lots of pieces of the puzzle and just closure getting with that. And then suddenly, I mean, I knew, I recognized the day and everything. I lit a candle in the morning and what have you. But suddenly it dawned on me at about lunchtime, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was 1300 hours or thereabouts, I'll tell you that much. I just said, oh my gosh, my cells are still responding to the trauma of that cycle. And it was amazing. The minute I got that, I was just weeping. And I was able to then sit outside, pray, meditate, go for a walk on the beach, just let it go and just remind myself through lots of love and tenderness to me that I can let that go now. Now, today I feel like a different person because I was able to do that, right? But we were actually brought up on a show this morning about people that have had SRA, satanic ritual abuse, sexual violence, and that sort of thing, and how the body keeps the score and how, you know, we store traumas and stuff. So for me, that was, again, another amazing, it took 26 years to get the final release. 26 years, guys. And this is how, when we allow ourselves just to work with whatever it is, and rest assured, it didn't mean my life didn't move forward. I was having a very fulfilled life, but there was lots of little niggly things. And as I'm willing and prepared to be vulnerable and be true to myself all the time and those around me, one heals automatically, and healing occurs of itself. So, when Hannes left, as painful as what it was, I knew he left for me. Hannes is the catalyst for me doing the work I do today. That his crossing was the catalyst, because I then understood something very important. What would I do if today was my last day on earth? What would I do if I knew today was your last day on earth? How would we be with each other? Yeah. So for me, that became a very important model that I like to work with. I don't say I got it right at all the time, about living my best day as if it was the last day, but really just having that consciousness that at any time anything can change, and it's better not to have regrets. So live in the moment, love in the moment, sort things out in the moment, be kind in the moment. If you see an opportunity to help someone, to be a voice for something or someone, be that for the person, because you do not know how amazing that can be for another person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, even with the holidays coming up, I know so many people in our community don't want to celebrate Christmas anymore because of all the inversion. But I want to remind everybody again, like, enjoy your life. Everything that was created first by the light, and then inverted by the dark. So put your tree up, decorate your tree with your kids, make sugar cookies, do the Santa Claus, have fun, enjoy it. Don't sit there in a pissed off mood.
It's holiday time. It's family time.
It doesn't matter.
It's family. Yeah.
You're not out there doing those rituals. So what, no, you can still have some of my greatest memories are around the holidays. I'll never give that up, because it's love, it's joy. And I love how you say that, live every day, but you don't want to live your last day sulking because somebody ripped you off on a holiday. No, we know it's not Yahshua's birthday. Like, we know that, like, we got it, but we can still celebrate it just being December. I love Santa Claus because I love seeing my nephew and my nieces when they get those toys. I love the magic they believe in. I love that for them. I love seeing that. It's beautiful memories. It's, so I love, as we end up the episode, like, enjoy your day. Go eat the sugar cookie. Go buy the chocolate mocha Christmas coffee if you want it, like, enjoy it, live your life.
Lots of Christmas cake.
I know. I'm excited. We get pineapple casserole twice a year, once for Thanksgiving, once for Christmas, and they're real close together. But I'm still looking forward to get my pineapple casserole in a couple weeks at my mama's house for Christmas.
What the heck is a pineapple casserole?
I'll have to share the recipe with you. It's such a Southern thing. It's basically pineapple, cheese, sugar, and Ritz cracker, and lots of butter. It is the best thing you will ever put in your mouth, though. It's like the savory and the sweet all in one bang.
How do you make it?
I will send you the recipe, Shanti. I will send you the recipe. For anybody watch and just Google, especially if you're an American, just Google pineapple casserole. You'll get Paula Dane's recipe. I'll try to find my aunt's recipe because my aunt has a recipe on a recipe card, old school on a recipe card. Oh, it's so. When Stephanie first came down here, my mom made her pineapple casserole, and she was like, this sounds so weird. And she was like, oh my God, this is so good. It's so freaking good. It's so good. Pineapple casserole, sweet potato casseroles with marshmallows on top. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Chess pie. We do chess pie down here. That's so good. So, yes, Angie, my friend Angie, she's from the South. See, Angie Tillman, she's from the South. Love pineapple casserole. And Angie, she's a chef. Angie, do a video making pineapple casserole for our friends who are not from the South and put it on your channel.
I would absolutely love to know how to make pineapple casserole. Seriously. Cheese with pineapple. That is going to be
pineapple, sugar, butter, Ritz cracker. Oh, honey, it is so. Oh, look, Angie's gonna make it. Angie's gonna make a recipe, y'all. Go check out Angie's channel. She's got she pickles. She's amazing. She's my Southern friend. She is. You would love her, Shanti. She's very Southern and she's hysterical, and she's We were laughing the other day. We have a show tomorrow coming out, and we were talking about how Southern women are savage. And when a Southern woman tells you you look healthy, that means you're fat. So if an old Southern woman with pearls on comes up and says, honey, you look so healthy, she just called you fat.
You must know you're a little bit chubby.
She's like, you're fat.
You're well-rounded.
If a Southern woman says, bless your heart, she just called you a dumbass. She literally just called you an effing idiot. Bless your heart.
Yeah, bless your heart.
You watch CNN, bless your heart.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's quite the lingo. I love the Southern accent. I've enjoyed the Southern movies.
I gotta introduce you to Angie then, because she's my Southern girl. She's my Still Magnolia sister. So
Still Magnolias was the movie with I laughed so at one of the parts where they talk about her ass looks like two pigs under a blanket, fighting under a blanket.
I'm telling you, the South is comic gold. All you got to do is go stand outside of a church on Sunday morning after church is released. Angie and I spoke about this. If you go stand outside, find the First Baptist Church, First Presbyterian Church, go stand outside when church releases on Sunday. You will hear all the church ladies gossiping about every freaking person in the town, and they will end it by saying, we should pray for her.
I can well imagine.
Bless her heart. She's just having all these affairs. We should pray for her. Meanwhile, it's just the gossip. It's just the gossip. That's all it is. It's town gossip.
How funny, yeah. Okay, well, I don't know. Is there anything else that
we could probably end on a high note, you guys? Go watch Still Magnolias. Go watch Angie's channel, because she even does dosha. She's doing dosha recipes as well, like dosha feast, how to cook for a dosha. Angie even made a video about gossip being spellcasting, and at the end she goes, and don't pray for me.
I love it. Yeah, please don't. Stop it.
Pray for me.
How wonderful. How far did we get with everyone?
Well, we'll start with verse 22. We'll probably be a couple more sections, because this is going to get heavy, guys. They're actually going to get into some pretty psychedelic stuff at the end here. And I noticed today, this book, if you get this book, she actually does exercises where she teaches you how to tap into Thoth yourself, so you can start asking him questions. And I agree with you, Shanti. If you know it's a bad spirit, if they tell you to do bad things. If it's a good spirit, they're never going to tell you to do anything that's going to hurt yourself or anybody else. So that's how you know the big difference between what you're channeling.
There's nothing conditional. There's always a choice. No. You're always given a choice. That's the one thing, you know, at any point in time, you're given that choice to step out of the connection.
Amanda, this book, it's Rebecca Marina Messenger's The Keys to the Emerald Tablet. That I think she has a book on every tablet, but it's the third tablet. The Keys of Wisdom, of aka teaching humans not to be assholes. So
stop being an asshole.
Stop being an asshole.
Just stop it.
Just don't do it. Yeah. So yes, this
stop.
Book right here. I'll put a link when we're done. I'll put a link on my community tab for this book to you guys, so you guys know where to get it. So
perfect. And I wonder if Morné, do you have the link yet, Morné? No.
Actually, I can. I'll pull while we're ending the show here. I'll pull it up and I can send it to Morné.
Okay, then we can put it in the description and stuff as well.
Okay.
Yay. Well, we have such fun together. Time flies, and before we know it, there we are, hour and 15 minutes.
I know, right?
So, Thoth is magic. He's just putting us in this time bubble, time capsule. We must get him to slow it down a little bit so we can have more time. It's fun. Guys and girls, thank you so much for watching. Beautiful Brice. Love you madly. Mwah.
Love you too.
Like, share, subscribe, just comment, do all those lovely things. This information is important. Get it out, right? So Thank you so much for watching our fourth podcast today, actually. So feeling very revived right now. I could do another 4. In fact, I could go do 108 sun salutations about now. I think I might just go and do that. No, I think I'm pushing it a little bit there. It's 8 o'clock at night. So I might just do
Shanti, if you ever feel a sassy Southerner with you while you're doing your sun salutations, that's my grandmama.
I was going to say, I thought that was you. Okay, you and your grandma.
That's Marianne. That's my grandmama.
Is your grandmother Marianne?
Do what?
Is your grandmother Marianne?
Marianne. That's
my mother's
name.
Marianne. My mother's Marianne. Yeah.
Wow.
How funny is that?
That's a God wink. That's a God wink.
Marianne. Marianne and Marianne. Oh dear. Okay. Oh gosh. I can imagine. I love it. Okay, guys. Love you all. Take care of yourselves. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.